Welcome to Talking to Young People About Gambling, a professional development resource designed to support teachers help their students develop healthy and informed attitudes towards gambling. The Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation is working towards reducing harm from gambling in our community by building greater awareness and understanding of the risks involved. We work with young people, educators, coaches and parents to provide information and practical resources to prepare young people before they reach legal gambling age. Our school education program is one of a suite of Love the Game prevention programs that raise awareness about the way young people are being increasingly exposed to gambling. Unlike when we were growing up, our students are immersed in an environment where gambling has never been so heavily promoted and accessible, especially through sports. This makes it feel like a normal part of the game for students, and harder for them to recognise potential harms.
So my favourite sport is netball, but I also love footy.
I play basketball and football.
My team is Melbourne Storm.
St Kilda are at 350 this weekend.
Hawks to win by 10 points.
I'll bet you they won't.
It's pretty much a sure bet.
The Bulldogs were at $2.75.
It's just a part of sport.
Gambling advertising is changing the way our kids see sport. Let's help them love the game, not the odds. Find out how to protect them from the risks. Visit lovethegame.vic.gov.au. Authorised by the Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation, Melbourne.
We want your students to love the game and not the odds. Betting advertising is changing the way they see sport. The amount of advertising they're being exposed to on a daily basis is putting them at risk. Young people don't always see the difference between ads and reality, and can see betting as a quick, fun way to make money. How many sports betting ads have you seen in the last week? During the first round of the AFL in 2016, The Age reported that 1 in 6 ads on free-to-air television promoted betting brands. Betting companies spent over $149 million between January to August 2015. $149 million just from January to August. Look closely at these ads and you'll see a betting agency trying to entice potential customers by using special offers like cashback, bonus bets and other incentives. But what these types of ads don't mention are the terms and conditions that are often too difficult to find. When you take a closer look at these types of conditions, you can see they are designed to encourage players to gamble more and take riskier bets. Apart from special offers, betting ads also use celebrity endorsements that may appeal to underage viewers, like this sporting bet ad featuring Shane Warne and Mick Malloy, which paints gambling as a fun, normal thing to do with your mates. The truth is that you can't stop your students from being exposed to ads like this. But what you can do is encourage them to think critically about the ads they see. We'll look at ways you can do this a little later. But first, let's see what else might be making gambling feel more normal, like digital games that look like gambling, how accessible gambling is, and the people in your students' lives. Starting with digital games. There are apps and video games that look like gambling, and use odds that may give young players the false impression that it's easy to win. Are there any apps or video games that you've seen lately that remind you of gambling? With thousands of free apps and video games like this, working out the difference between gaming and gambling is getting harder. Can you tell which one is the fake app and which one is the real online gambling website? It's not easy, is it? Image A is a screenshot from a real online gambling site. Technically, these are illegal in Australia, so these sites are operated from overseas, meaning there's no consumer protection for Australian players. Image B is a screenshot from a fake gambling app called Slotsmania. Australian research shows teens playing these types of apps may think gambling is a normal, everyday activity, be more inclined to take it up, and be more confident about winning due to the false beliefs about the odds of winning. Ads on many of these apps lead to real gambling sites, creating easy pathways to the real thing. On top of this, there are in-app purchases. Even though teens can't win real money from these apps, they can spend real money on in-app purchases to boost their chances in the game. These often cost only a few dollars, but a player immersed in the game can quickly rack up expenses. Video games like The Sims and Grand Theft Auto and even free games on Nintendo DS consoles feature gambling by including casino and poker machine elements, all of which makes it feel like a game without much risk involved. Let's look at access. Gone are the days where if you're an adult wanting to bet, you had to go to the ATM, then head to your local sports betting agency and hand over cold hard cash. With a smartphone or tablet, people can gamble online, wherever, whenever. What message is this sending to your students? When something is easily accessible, you often think it's normal and relatively harmless. But of course, we know that's not the case for gambling. Australian research tells us that up to 80% of 13 to 17-year-olds had gambled in the past year. This includes things like betting with friends, playing lottery tickets, raffles and sweeps. But it also included more risky forms of gambling, like playing the pokies and betting on racing and sports. Influential people in your student's life, including their friends, family, and you as their teacher, may shape their attitudes. Betting is often considered a social activity, and research shows that 6 out of 10 young people who bet do so with at least one other person, usually a friend. Market research with 15 to 24-year-old males showed that those at a greater risk of experiencing harm were more likely to have friendship groups that regularly gambled. Family members may strongly influence whether students start to gamble. Research suggests that students from families that bet frequently are more likely to do so themselves. Of course, teachers can be influential role models in their students' lives and help them develop healthy and informed attitudes. It's important to realise that your students' attitudes towards gambling are being shaped right now by all these influences we've just discussed. These attitudes might also be shaped by myths about the level of risk involved and the chances of winning. Market research with young males identified myths like, a person can develop a gambling problem only if they have a certain personality type. The important thing to remember here is that anyone can experience difficulty at any time, regardless of their personality type. An individual's characteristics are only one of many factors that may influence their gambling behaviour. Another myth is, if you gamble with friends, you are unlikely to get into serious difficulties. But we know that being with friends does not protect someone from running into trouble. There is no safety in numbers when it comes to gambling. There's also a myth that betting on sports isn't as risky as other forms of gambling because it involves skill. This stems from a common misconception that a player has some level of control over their chances of winning, especially in terms of their knowledge of the game or sport. But knowing a lot about a certain game of sport doesn't guarantee a win. No matter how much you know, and regardless of your perceived skill level, there's no such thing as a sure bet. So what can you do? The good news is, you're in a really good position to help your students develop healthy and informed attitudes to gambling. And we're here to show you how. Let's support them to get ahead of the game, act now, and help them understand how it really works, including the risks involved. Similar to other potential health issues, like drinking, it's not just about preventing them from developing a problem, but also helping them to avoid all forms and severity of gambling harm. We understand that as teachers, you're very busy people, and you're probably thinking, great, here's another thing I need to think about. We want to make it easy and straightforward for you to do so. So we've come up with a really simple guide called Talk, because like any other health and well-being issue, that's essentially what we're encouraging you to do. Talk to your students about it. T in our Talk guide stands for Think. Think about how your students' attitudes are being shaped now by the sports they watch, what access they may have, the influence of gambling, like games, and the people in their lives. A in our Talk guide is for Adopt. Adopt a gambling policy that might include strategies like hosting free face-to-face information sessions for parents and students. The parent information session can inform parents about the key issues relating to gambling and young people, and how they can help their child develop healthy and informed attitudes. The Senior Student Workshop is designed for Year 10 to 12 students, including VCAL. This session encourages students to become critical thinkers in an environment where betting is becoming increasingly normalised. You can book any of these free sessions on our website. Another strategy to include in your school's gambling policy is incorporating our units of work in your school's curriculum planning. These units cover a variety of subject areas for senior years and are regularly updated on our website. Also available on our website are useful resources for parents. In your policy, you can include a strategy about encouraging parents to use these resources. Another strategy to consider is ensuring that teachers are mindful of their own gambling attitudes and behaviour when working with students and model healthy and balanced gambling attitudes. L is for look. Look for opportunities in your own classroom to incorporate this topic. We have a variety of curriculum-based unit of work to link this important student welfare topic to your subject area. These resources have been piloted by teachers like yourselves and are available on our website. See what a teacher and students from Williamstown High School had to say about our VCAL numeracy resources that we developed in partnership with the Mathematical Association of Victoria.
Today I thought we'd do a lesson that's been developed on gambling. So we're going to look at what happens to the pool of money if a betting agency is running a sweep. I think it sort of highlights, I suppose, the maths behind gambling. It also, I think, highlights the risks in an informed way with some evidence that shows that, it's all based on probability and chance.
Yeah, I think everyone knows that money isn't something to really muck around with, and it's really helped us to know that we're not always going to win when we gamble.
The biggest myth that they come in with is that there's some skill involved.
I didn't realise there was so much risk behind it, and that there's not really a strategy as such, it's more just chance. You're going into something that you're not sure what the outcome's going to be.
I think the students learned that it can have quite a significant financial impact on them, particularly because they're at a stage in their lives where they're either going to be going on to study or they're going to be working in a job where their income's quite limited.
At our age, because we're 18 and exploring, and I definitely think it's good, worth learning. Yeah.
I think this is a really excellent resource for kids in school. I think it's really accessible for a lot of teachers.
The curriculum-based units that we currently offer can be mapped to a range of VCAL strands, including personal development, numeracy and literacy, as well as Year 10 humanities and health in VCE. Now we move on to our fourth and final step in our talk guide, which is to know when gambling might be becoming a concern and where to seek help. Anyone can develop a problem with gambling, regardless of gender, age or personality type. Even young people can run into difficulty. Research tells us that 3 to 4% of teenagers in Australia have a problem with gambling, which is equivalent to 1 student in every high school classroom. The fact that young people are experiencing difficulty suggests to us that it's really better to start talking to your students about this important wellbeing topic sooner rather than later. Research tells us that 1 in 5 adults clinically diagnosed with a gambling problem started before they were 18. Matt talked about how gambling was a problem for him and that he started before he was 18.
My biggest ever win was 16,000. It's that feeling of chance that you can win. It was probably one of the best feelings that you could ever feel. I lost that $16,000 in 2 days. In the 7 to 8 years of my gambling, I lost over $300,000. When I first started gambling, I was underage. It was a game of poker with my mates. I think I was 17 or 16 at the time. It's the hardest thing in the world is admitting you've got a problem and asking for help, but I'll turn around and say it's the best decision that I've ever made.
So how would you know if it was becoming a concern for one of your students? Let's discuss some of the signs to look out for.
One of them is missing school. That's one of the first things that tends to drop off. Also, kids can sort of become increasingly obsessed with simulated gambling apps and games. They may no longer be interested in just going to watch a footy match or a soccer match. They're starting to talk about who's going to win, how much money you might make if that team wins, what kind of odds were on this team or that team. Another thing is depression and the onset of sort of, you know, negative attitudes. You get a young person who's staying in their room all the time, who's not seeing their friends at all, who's not really looking after themselves. They stop talking to you, they stop talking to their friends, and when you do question them, you'll get quite negative, sometimes quite angry responses.
We understand that some of the signs referred to here could indicate a range of health issues. However, it's good to be aware that a possible cause may be gambling related. If you notice any of the signs mentioned here, it's important to address them sooner rather than later. You can check out our dedicated website or call our Gamblers Help Youth line, which is a free service available 24/7. You can refer a student or a concerned parent to this service, or access it yourself to seek helpful advice and support. Remember that a student might be experiencing harm because of someone else's gambling and can contact Youthline or visit this site. So remember your handy talk guide. Think about how your students' attitudes towards gambling are being shaped now. Adopt a school gambling policy. Look for opportunities in your curriculum planning to incorporate this topic. Know when it might be becoming a concern and where to seek help. Together, we can build greater awareness and understanding of the risks involved. If you'd like to know more about the range of topics we've covered today and research about young people and gambling, visit our Love the Game website.